Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Golden Craft Cast. I'm your host, Sergio. Manny is not in. He'll be back soon. He's not like completely fucking exile, you know. He's still a part of this. He wanted to be on this one because this is a very special episode, a very classic movie, and also made by a, I wouldn't say classic director, but a director of our times. And this is his first movie. And he's coming close to his last movie in a couple years from now. I don't know what time or what period you're actually listening to. But anyways, I'm here, and once again, probably like third time in a row or whatever. You guys are probably you guys are probably guessing like, okay, well, he's gonna be a permanent guest or host or whatever. But you know, he's the support of this podcast. So welcome back, Erik.
What's up, Sergio?
Hey. So yeah, we're here once again talking about yet another movie. Yeah, we've been running through a lot of movies with a lot of anniversaries and whatnot. But I mean, this is just what we do, you know. This and also the beers and stuff. So you know, we're here to have a good time, not a long one. But yeah, we're gonna get into it really and stuff. So yeah, Erik, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? Not much.
Yeah, not much.
Not really. I mean, was this here, what, 2 weeks ago doing this?
I know. It feels like, oh, that was like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, yeah, our last episode was pretty cool. You guys haven't checked it out. We did a Latino appreciation and representation, just based on like, you know, Hispanic Heritage Month. We like made it on the nick of time. We uploaded that like that Friday, the 14th, and the day after was gonna be like the last day of like the Heritage Month. So you know, cheers for us, you know. But yeah, it was pretty good. I liked it. It's good. Anyways, but yeah, you excited to talk about a little Tarantino, a little Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my favorite Tarantino film.
Is it?
Yeah, that's one thing Manny and I have in common.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was looking forward to having Manny on this pod.
Yeah.
Just so we can discuss that. You know,
Yeah,
we got him.
you guys would have found out like really hard. I this isn't my favorite one, but I would say it's like one of the top ones up there for me. You know, it's like,
Well, it's hard to say with Tarantino. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
it's
Like, I
really
mean,
hard.
say
It's just
it's my
like,
favorite film, but it's like I'm not gonna lie. Like, there is a little bit like an asterisk, like maybe like it that can easily change. It hasn't though, and I've seen most Tarantino
yeah.
films. The only one I haven't seen is Jackie Brown. I think
Oh, really?
for some reason I haven't gotten around, and I meant to get around to it for this pod,
Yeah.
but you know, life happened,
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah,
cool. You'll have time. I mean, this is probably not the last time we're gonna talk Tarantino, so I mean,
yeah.
there's always
And
time to watch that. What's up?
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jackie Brown's like the only one he didn't originally like
Yeah,
conceive.
that's correct. Yeah, he actually
Adapted it, right?
adapted. It was the only one he adapted, and
Yeah.
it's cool because it was very much in his style and very much like a movie he would make. You know, and it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. But yeah, the casting's great. Script was pretty good. A lot of people don't like it because it's not like his. It's a little bit different what he's doing, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty solid. You know, I like it. And I was like thinking about that movie the other day, so you know, it's cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're good on that. Anyways, let's talk about our beers because I've been looking forward to this beer. Honestly, my intention was to get like a beer that best suited this episode. And a couple weeks ago, I actually did find one. but then like I lucked out and I wasn't able to get that beer. But since we are talking about this movie, there are different characters with different color names. And of course, my favorite color in beers is actually a blonde. Look at that.
All right.
Yeah, so I got California blonde ale. There was another blonde ale that I wanted to get, but it was called Forbidden, and it was like an Indiana Jones theme type of thing, type of beer. So I was like, I want to get it, but it's the wrong movie. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm just gonna get like a blonde,
Yeah.
in honor of Mr. Blonde. But yeah, I'm gonna crack that shit open. But I'm curious what you get.
Let's see. What did I get? Come on.
It's like I don't remember.
All right. I got un Unknown Road by El Segundo.
Unknown
I don't
Road.
know.
Oh shoot.
I just got it because like, well, the title, like, I don't know, it's like it kind of fits the theme of the movie. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I can
no,
see that.
it could fit Tarantino in general. Like, you never know where it's gonna go.
Yeah, right.
Really.
He's his own
Another,
genre, really. Yeah.
huh?
He's his own genre, so you never know what it's
Yeah,
gonna be like. Yeah, I could
yeah,
totally
like
see it.
just
Yeah.
that he looks like, I don't know, like Tarantino is.
Yeah. I would say like it's since it's like the guy with the chains is like very much like a convict, which
Yeah,
it is a movie full of convicts. One way or another
definitely,
they are. Just criminals.
definitely.
Alright, for
But
sure.
yeah, like I said, it's by a Segundo Brewing Company.
Yeah.
Pennywise presents on the road. The beer, 5% alcohol volume. Uh, I got a pint. This is a pint. Let's see what it says in the back. Ever get the thought you were mistaken? Ever think about the stones you've left unturned? More chances slip away with every passing day. Suffering was cold. You're so afraid you might get burned. And when wondering can't take its toll, and wondering you can rack your skull, and wondering you can send your imagination up a tree, wondering what fantasies lie just beyond. Yeah, that's about it. It sounded like a little poem.
Yeah, I did. I was
That's
like, oh, that
good.
was very poetic. Just very.
Yeah,
It was really nice, actually.
yeah.
Glad you read that.
Let's see. It doesn't say what kind of L it is or
Yeah,
uh,
it's all good. I'll look it up. It's gonna be in the description anyway. So,
for
yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I got my blonde nail right here. It's a little amberish. I think that's like from the. I think that's like the color from the camera that's capturing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it's like it's actually a little bit lighter. So I don't know.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm gonna take a.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a drink from this. So cheers from afar.
Just one part.
Yeah. Like opening it. Okay. I'll wait for you. I guess. There you go. I put the little cling in there. Hmm.
Oh wow, I actually like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of malty. It's kind of High Life, like
Yeah.
Miller High
Mine's a
Life a
little
little bit.
malty too. A little
Huh?
bit. Mine's a little malty too. It's a little bit malty. It's like,
Okay.
oh, it's a little bit of bitterness, even though it's a blonde ale.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
Um.
it's pretty good.
All right. FYI, I'm gonna drink mine with a straw. I know that's weird, but like,
Oh no, there's
uh,
literally like um there's a IG account where it's literally called like a girl that drinks from a beer with a straw, and she made that normalized. So just go ahead and drink that from a straw.
well,
It's
I'm just
capitalized.
drinking through a
Yeah.
straw because I got a trouble with my dentist. I haven't been drinking soda. I've been staying away from carbonated drinks.
Yeah.
But well, with my orthodontist, a little embarrassing because I'm like 31 years old. But
Yeah. No,
I
you're
got
good.
braces a couple months ago, and like, yeah, I'm supposed to stay away from carbonated drinks. So you're welcome, Sergio, and fans of the show. I'm disobeying my orthodontists.
You gotta
So I can
you
fucking
gotta
do
be
this
committed.
stupid
You
thing.
tell your orthodontist, it's like, bro, sometimes I just want to drink a cold one.
But that's the thing. I don't know. People tell me I can drink beer, but some
Ah,
people tell me
fucking
not to. The assistant, the orthodontist assistant, I guess, told him about it, and he was like, "Oh, if you gotta drink it, I mean, just drink it with a straw." I'm like, "That helps." He's like, "Yeah, you won't swish it around as much with the straw."
yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's true."
That's
Also,
that's
I
good.
heard you drink it faster with the straw, and it hits you harder with the straw.
That's true.
It
Because if you
is.
think about it, if you're drinking cocktails from like a straw, like you ever notice you kind of does hit you a little bit faster.
I guess. I mean, I rarely drink alcoholic beverages with a straw.
Okay. Yeah. Next time you do that, drink it with a straw. You'll see.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
see by the end of this episode.
Ooh, it's gonna get exciting. Yeah. This is pretty good. I like it. It's I drank a couple blonde ales. I like it. Actually, Breland really likes blonde ales, so shout out to him wherever he's at. Actually, he's well, as I could say, like he's actually up here in the Bay Area, so we're probably gonna meet up soon. I did tell him about this episode, but I think he has shit to do or something, or he's just too tired. I don't know. People have commitments. It's a Wednesday night. It's I don't know. It's a weird day. But I mean, I think this is my free day. It's Eric's free day, so might as well just fucking do this, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Mm. Or report back to the rating on this beer. It's pretty good. I like it. All right, so without further ado, yeah, let's get into it. Do you remember the first time we watched this movie?
I want to say sometime a decade ago.
Yeah, I would say the same
Either
thing too.
a little more than a decade ago or a little bit less than a decade ago. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah,
I
time
remember
passes by. It's all a blur. It just fades away.
But what's funny though is when I saw it, I was like, "Hey, they're copying Bad Fur Day." Do
Wait,
you remember
what?
that game? Huh?
No, I don't. Wait, what?
You don't remember that game that video game for Super Nintendo 64?
No.
Bad Fur Day.
Oh, Conquer's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, well, you didn't realize that fucking game is a compilation of other copy shit. It's a parody of like different movies and shit.
Yeah.
You're just
No,
like,
no.
oh, that's where you got it from.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, that's the other way
Yeah,
around.
it's the other way around. It's like watching The Simpsons and you never watched the movie before, and then you watch the actual movie and you're just like, oh, they got that from The Simpsons. No, The Simpsons got it from there. You just never watched the fucking movie before.
Like how we mentioned before in this podcast, how the
Yeah.
Regrets did Godfather.
Wait, what about the God? Oh,
Remember?
yeah. We were talking
Yeah,
about the um.
yeah. When we did the Godfather,
Yeah, we talked about the Rugrats.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was a parody of that, which I didn't know. And then you and Jonah were just like, "Yeah, you never watched it." And I played it. I was like, "This is actually funny." No, it's because
Yeah.
I do watch Rugrats, but I just didn't watch that movie specifically. So I was like, "Oh fuck, I could have got that reference if I did." But yeah, that's funny. I mean,
Yeah.
movies copying other movies, which I
Well,
gotta say,
it's more of a compliment if you
yeah,
think about it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
if
yeah.
if
Which
your movie gets like parody like that, like
yeah,
that's a
appreciation.
compliment, you
Yeah,
know?
the best compliment is imitation is the best compliment or the best
Yeah,
imitation or
yeah.
whatever. I'm messing it up, but yeah, I totally agree. Which we gotta talk about this. Tarantino did copy this movie off another movie. So I don't know if you know this.
Okay, he copied it or he was inspired by it.
He was okay. Let me reiterate that.
Yeah.
In some ways, people said that he copied the movie, but I mean, after what we just said, imitation's the best appreciation or whatnot. He was inspired by it, but he made his own version of that movie, in that sense, which he actually does that in a lot of his movies, like a lot. But he
Well,
just has
all
his
the
own
great,
twist on it,
all the great artists do that.
huh?
Well, all the great artists do that.
Yeah. If anything, I mean, I think all of film is just appreciation from like a previous film they got inspired to, and then just you know recycling that same material over and over again till like they make it their own or it's distinguished from everything else and stuff. But I think it's fascinating once you find out like what movie he got inspired by. I think the movie was called City by the Fire or City on Fire, which is it was a Chinese movie. It's a foreign film that he did, and some of the things that happen in that movie is kind of replicated the same way that's like in Reservoir Dogs. So it's like, oh, okay, so they got inspiration from that, but he just made his American version because, of course, like no American's gonna watch a Chinese movie. Only Americans watch American movies, for the majority of the part, unless you're like a
Yeah,
film major. Yeah,
yeah. That's been changing, or at least there was like a small movement of like this generation, like okay, being able to appreciate foreign films more. Like I mean, we're talking about a couple of years ago. I didn't see that film, Parasite. I still
Parasite.
haven't seen it.
You
I don't
still
know
haven't
why.
seen it? That's fine. I mean, there's
One
always
it took
time.
all the freaking Oscars. I think like all
Yeah,
the
I did.
awards and whatnot.
Yeah,
Like so who knows? I mean, people may actually go back and actually see that movie.
yeah.
Uh,
From what I heard, they're
or
gonna make a TV series, American TV series out of it. I don't know.
out of it. Oh, okay,
Yeah. So
nice.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, yeah. There you go. Like, I mean, I think it just takes a great passion to actually be willing to watch movies from other countries. And of course, you're gonna get inspired by them because it's something that you never seen before, but you could visualize it as like a movie that you could see in your silver screen in this country. So it's just like, oh, like let me just make a version of, City by the Fire, oh, City on Fire. Which I mean, it's fine. It's not like it's not like he's stealing necessarily like stealing like the whole idea of it. It's just like the premise of it is pretty similar, but not exactly the same. You know, but he does have his own flair on it in one way or another. Um, well, I didn't even say like the first time I watched it, I think I was watching it with my cousin, or I think I watched it like on. I definitely watched it, streamed it on the internet. When it was like all movies were just like floating about unregulated. It wasn't like a streaming service. Um, I think it was around the same time as Pulp Fiction that I watched. I think I might have watched Pulp Fiction first, and then it was this one that I got to watch. And then I think I did watch like Jackie Brown right after, because I remember I rented Jackie Brown and I also like rented Kill Bill. But or I don't know. I feel like I did rent it like Pulp Fiction too, but I think it was after I watched it and then I wanted to watch it again, just you know rewatch that movie again. But yeah, definitely like early on when I discovered Tarantino, those were the first movies that I watched, like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and then later on that. But I guess I would say I was not impressed with the story, how what Pulp Fiction did, but I still liked it. Like I still like the style. I like the badassness between the characters. The dialogue was like super interesting. So I mean, right off the top, like in Tarantino's first entry to film, it's basically him speaking in the dark, or in the big titles, and he's just like talking about
Like a virgin.
like a virgin. Oh, I got the clip.
Let me tell you what Like a Virgin's about. It's all about a girl who digs a guy with a big dick. The entire song, it's a metaphor for big dicks.
So,
No.
you know how he always like makes reference to like pop culture, like literally that's like the first bit he does in this movie. It's just reference to like a really famous song. And it's funny because, yeah, also a tidbit, Madonna actually did like the movie, especially that whole bit that he did, that she basically wrote, no, she basically sent him like an album with like her signature on it, and then refuted his like claim on what that song was about. And she said, it's not about dicks, it's about love. So, which I thought it was super sweet. I was like, that's fucking funny, Again, showing appreciation for that little bit of culture and stuff. But yeah, yeah, man, what was your impression on this movie when it first opened? Were you listening to like the dialogue, or were you just like, just paying attention to like who these characters are or whatnot? I just want to know how Eric watches the movie when he's being introduced to this new world and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I saw it about 10 years ago. I remember that opening scene. I remember that I thought it was pretty funny, but I was like, I don't know how true that is. I mean, it could be. I mean, it's quite the interpretation of the song.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I mean, it's a nice way to like you get me because I mean that's the thing about the dialogue that some of the dialogue that well most of the dialogue that Tarantino does like it makes you wonder like okay how's this even really relevant to like the movie like how's this like you get me like
Yeah.
why does this matter like how did this not get cut you get me but it's entertaining for one. Two, it does kind of like it is an appropriate way to introduce the characters. Just them bullshitting before they go do probably the biggest job of their criminal careers. Little do they know it's their last job.
Yeah.
But yeah, them just arguing about like this bullshit little thing that this fucking
Right.
character does, and it's delivered by Tarantino himself. You get me?
Yeah.
Like I mean, you've been knowing me for a good minute. We met, doing theater together, and you're know I'm interested in film. Like the way if I could have anyone's career, it would probably be Tarantino's because I mean he writes it, he directs it, and then he acts a little bit in it. You get me? Like he does like a little cameo. Well,
Yeah,
they're
he does
mostly
everything
cameos,
in that sense. Yeah, he does a little bit of everything in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he doesn't, but he doesn't like he's not like the star of the film ever. Like he just pops up, like in a scene or two, or which is and he's pretty good. Like like he's pretty good at casting himself.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like
Some
if I
parts.
had any
Yeah.
type of acting career, I would probably choose to go with that type of career. Like just do like little small roles here and there. You get me?
Yeah.
Like that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because a lot of directors that also act, they kind of do little cameos here and there. So it's like, I mean, if you're an actor, might as well. But I feel like he's okay acting wise in this movie, but there's some like casting choices where he like casts himself, which feels like a little off, and you're just like, okay, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, like which ones? We're talking about Pulp Fiction or Django?
hmm Ja-
Either one, or both, or what?
yeah, he's just like a wonder. He only like just shows up that one time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With Pulp Fiction, yeah, it's fine, but Django, no.
Really? Oh, okay. Maybe I gotta watch that
yeah, it
movie
was.
then.
Yeah, it was just the accent that kind of it threw me
Oh, okay,
off a little
maybe.
bit, and then I think it threw everyone off, and I was just like, I mean, someone else could have played that, but I get that it was just kind of funny that he was just wanted to blow himself up, and it's just like, see what I did? I just blew myself up. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, but did you really have to do an Australian accent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Not even Australians approve of that. They're just like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from that, like, the writing is really interesting. 'Cause the way you think about it, like, yeah, sure, like they could have started with something very like, um, getting straight to the point what this movie was about. Like, oh, they're obviously gonna go on a heist and they're having a serious discussion and a serious talk about this and what they're gonna do, or and all that. But I think what he wanted to do is like make them more grounded in one way or another.
Yeah.
Because in that same opening scene, you also get like the tip. You get
Yeah.
the tip talk. It's
Yeah. The
like,
whole debate about tipping.
yeah, it's like, why I got a tip? And then he just makes a whole argument about not tipping, which in some ways, like, he's right, but also like, dude, shut the fuck up. It's just fucking tip. you know?
For
But
sure.
like a lot of the dialogue is just like I feel like it's Tarantino just him talking. And when he's like when his one of his characters trying to make a point, I feel like it's just him having to have that thought and just putting that shit into a movie in one way or another, and just make it interesting to like make that dialogue, flow much smoother and very entertaining, but at the same time very much stylistic in that sense. Because nobody really talks like that. It's just that's someone's like train of thought or trail of thought. But he just made it into like a entire dialogue. I also got that little clip right there. Hold on.
Come on, throw in a buck.
I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in tipping.
Do you know what these chicks make? They make shit. Don't give me that. She don't make enough money, she can quit.
If she doesn't make enough money, she can quit. I mean, fucking tipper, man. You know what I mean? But yeah,
But I mean,
no, go ahead. I was gonna.
yeah. Yeah, but the dialogue, like those two topics, like it's a great introduction to the characters and like how a job like this is just their regular. You get me?
Yeah.
Like they're not talking about like, oh, if I don't make it, tell my mother I love her or some bullshit like that. You get me? Like
Yeah,
like
you're right.
it's just another day for them. You get me? Like so they're just bullshitting until the time comes for them to actually go and pull off the job.
Mhm.
You know, it's just a nice way to introduce the characters and like
Yeah.
the
You
story.
you know what I just thought? You could think of it as like just bullshit or whatnot, but I think it's a good thing, a good scene to introduce like what this movie really is about. Because if you think about it, it's a heist, and everyone has to have their own part on it. And at the end of it, they all get the money. But the fact that it's the other way around, where like, okay, everyone tip, and then he's like, that one person's not doing their part. That's where it all falls apart, which is what this movie is about.
Yeah,
I was just like, it just takes one person to like, kind of fucked it up for everyone. But at the end of the day, at the end of that scene, he actually agrees to tip because he has to.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool. Steve Buscemi was an interesting choice on that, and this is him barely starting out. So he was just like, he's the guy's a character, he's a character actor, and he's like very funny. Like kind of see him like kind of complain or trying to make a
Yeah.
statement on things.
Uh, did you listen to the podcast he did with Bill Burr? No,
What?
not Bill Burr. Mark Maron.
Yeah, I did actually.
It was
Yeah,
like a year ago.
yeah, I do remember. It
He
was.
talks about getting that role. I think I don't know. Remember that?
Did he?
Yeah, he talks about like how he was like they just had, I may be butchering the story, but
No,
like
go
he
ahead.
talks about how he was like around, like they were gonna cast him or something, or like they were gonna cast him in the movie, but they didn't know which role or what, and like they were reading him for that role, which I think was it Mr. P? No.
I remember. Yeah, I think that role, Mr. Pink, was meant for Tarantino, but then he gave ultimately they just wanted to give it
Mm.
to someone else. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
remember now. Yeah,
And I think the
I
way that
think.
Tarantino told them was at the urinals. I think they were both like they both had to go use the restroom or something.
Yeah.
Ended up at the urinals at the same time.
So is that what gave him the
I don't
idea
know.
for that
Huh?
scene? Is that what gave him that idea for that one scene later on in the movie?
I have no idea, but
That
Steve
sounds
was saying
familiar.
like he said like they were at the urinals and like he just turned to him and he was like, "Oh, by the way, you had the role. The role's yours." It's like okay.
That's a hell of a way to address that. It's like, oh, by the way, the world's yours.
Makes you wonder, you know.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, he's definitely like the right actor for that role. And like I mean, just 3% me like just it's kind of inspiring because like not to be shallow or anything, especially me. I'm not handsome at all. But I mean, 3% me like he's known for being like he like having a very particular what do you call it? Like appearance, like like look,
Yeah, you're
the,
right. Yeah.
the look, for him to have that, like I feel like it would have stopped most people from pursuing an acting career, But with
Yeah.
him, like he made it work, like he,
Yeah, just don't take it too pressure. Be subconscious about it. Yeah, because there's some
yeah,
movies like Fargo where he's described as like, oh, he's a funny looking fella, and then it's like, oh,
oh yeah,
you're going with that context, like he cast the Coen Brothers cast him because he is a funny looking fellow, but it's like no, it's a distinct looking look, like this is how they perceive you, but that's not how you are. But it's just like, okay, well, it's a unique look, so just go with it and just like, use it as your strength as an actor,
yeah,
And there's a couple other movies where like they do mention like his distinct look or, the way he talks about it. And I think to him, it is very much a strength, to actually like, oh, just don't be discouraged by this. If anything, own it. Which, by the way, Steve Buscemi, a really great actor.
yeah, he is,
Really fucking great. I think
yeah,
I think the same way that you were talking like, oh, if I had anyone's career, it would be Tarantino. But I think for me, I think I would like Buscemi. I think Buscemi has a very interesting career path.
yes. But here's the thing. The reason why I would go with Tarantino's is because I'm interested more in writing and
Yeah,
directing than acting. Like if
yeah.
I was
If it was acting wise, like I
yeah,
would go for his
acting,
career.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Like if I was an aspiring actor, like obviously it would be like someone like Buscemi or I mean one of my favorite actors. Like when I get asked who's my favorite actor, I'm going on tangent right now, but we should go with Woody Harrelson.
really, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like him a lot. I don't know, like just every role I see him in.
Yeah.
Even like in films like in freaking Zombieland. You know,
Hmm.
like I liked him in that. Like
You ever
but
seen
yeah,
Natural
huh?
Born Killers?
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it was just
it was
in
a
the
blur.
background playing, and yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta
but
revisit that film.
yeah. By
So
the way, that is
yes, but
that movie is written by Tarantino.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
Oh crap! Okay, but not
yeah.
directed.
Not directed. He sold the script so he can make. I think it was this movie. I could be mistaken. I think it was Pulp Fiction, but I think
Wait, I thought he wrote True Romance,
that
but he
too.
sold that script for to
Yeah, he
make this
sold
one.
both those scripts so he could like finance his own movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think both those movies were at the same year or at the same time or around the same time when it was coming up. So it was like, oh yeah, that's kind of smart. Like write your own script but not direct it, but then uh, use it to produce your films that are much better, much beneficial to you. I don't know.
Well, you're more familiar with True Romance, and I'm guessing Natural Born Killers. Um, did did they butcher them?
No, I don't think they butcher them in any sense.
No,
It was just a different
they
style.
did right by them.
Uh, I think they made it into their own style. With Natural Born Killers is Oliver Stone. He's very stylish, but I think he got the message across about ultra violence and all that. Um, True Romance, you could tell it's like Tarantino, but it was just like directed by more action and more like drama wise. That one's like directed by Tony Scott, which is really Scott's brother. He passed away a while ago, but Tony
Yeah.
Scott made good ass movies like Man on Fire, um, uh, Unstoppable, fucking Top Gun. Like it was just all good movies and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I think it was just got handled by directors that were a little bit more established that they already proved themselves. But yeah, I want to say they got butchered.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, definitely check those out. Really,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really long ass side card. I
Yeah.
gotta say, but I think once you go into Tarantino, you just talk about like the other things he's made. But in this movie particular, I think this is where he established himself, like all his different styles and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like I got to see in this movie. It was a gangster drama, and it was a crime drama, but also it was a little bit of western vibe to it. If you realize
Yeah.
the standouts, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Um. Yeah.
But yeah, the
Like the way the whole chaos breaks down. You get me?
yeah
Just in the film.
yeah is this movie has a lot of like tension that's just like built around whether it's like the awaiting violence or just like us discovering like, oh, when are they gonna find out that Mr. Orange is actually like the guy, the pretty much the rat in that whole infiltration.
Well, he's
Uh,
on the cover.
yeah, he's
He's
the
not.
undercover that's like there, and he's like giving them intel, and that's how they got like uh I'm like forgetting words. That's how they got jumped. I don't know, jumped, trapped, whatever. That's what they knew about the heist, basically, and stuff. Um, when I was younger, when I first watched this movie, I was just like, it would have been cool if we saw the heist itself of what really went down. But I think I was asking the wrong question, because if anything, one, it was under a certain budget, and two, if we don't have to see that, like all that is up to our imaginations, which is like I think much sorry, much more of a stronger choice creatively, and just like that's not really the important part. The part is like this movie that's trying to like pretty much portray um the mistrust in a companion or in a band of like thieves, like there's always that saying like, oh, honor among thieves, but that's not always the case, and people aren't what they think they are. So you really get to see like who each of these people really are, and we really don't have to like go back to their past to actually see that. You could already see it as it's being portrayed, like because you get into different segments where it's like, oh, Mr. Blonde, Mr. White, Mr. Orange. The other guys, you kind of already seen their characters, and they don't really make it towards the end. So you just get to see like, oh, that's the only glimpse of what you get to see from Mr. Brown, and you already know what he says because you already know what he's about because he was literally the first person that talked in that movie. Like he was the opening dialogue. Mr. Blue was just that guy, and Mr. Pink gets his he gets his own spotlight really, and then Mr. White and Mr. Orange has like they have like an entire relationship that carries the whole film and stuff. But you really get to see who they are, and then with Mr. Blonde, you get to see who he really is, and just based on like what you didn't see, you get to learn a whole lot about him,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a little bit theatrical that we didn't see the heist
Yeah.
also.
Hmm.
Like, the whole, especially the whole, you know, Greek theater history part. Like, like it's very Greek style, like, um, historically,
Yeah, definitely.
The Greeks wouldn't show the violence on stage. They would show it off stage. They would have a character come in and report it. You get me? But which I mean, yeah, it's the way Tarantino did it. But I mean, it's not really reporting. Well, it is kind of, but it's among the characters. Like it's not really towards the audience, really. Like
Yeah.
um, you know. So yeah, I think I'm not. I never really missed. I never really missed. Not seeing the heist. I was fine with it.
Yeah. I guess that was just me, like younger and just being more inspirational filmmaker. Because they always say like, oh, always show, don't tell. And for the most part, they were just telling what happened, but they never got to show it. So it was just like that aspect. But yeah, you do make a good point that it was trying to be more theatrical, which is the appeal of having to use your own imagination. And it wasn't really the most important part. It was just the
Yeah,
story of this mistrust among thieves. So it's like,
yeah,
that was the whole point and stuff. But still, I was like, but then like now older, it's like, okay, I get it. So it's like, it works, you know?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I watched this movie like a week ago. So there was just some things that I didn't notice. Oh, I did notice it, but I think it became more. Um, I'm not gonna say like noticeable. It's stupid to say, but just it became something that I feel like Tarantino was trying to do for his first film. And I did make like a whole thread about like um about how I feel about Tarantino films, which is like I don't feel emotionally attached to any of the characters, but in this movie, like there was like a lot of emotional um presence in there, especially like with Mr. Orange and Mr. White's like connection. Like they had like the whole brotherly blonde bond, and then him having to die and be in pain, but only at the end of the movie, like he feels betrayed because he turns out to be like the undercover of it all. So it's just like, oh, it's even more heartbreaking or just like more devastating for him at the end of it. So it's just like, oh, emotionally it's cool, and I if you haven't watched this movie in a while, like, and then you really notice that, it's just like, damn, like I didn't really notice how emotionally turmoil it is, just seeing like a man cry and then the other guy just being very passionate about that shit. It's just like, huh. I think it was just trying to have like a very mature take on this movie as opposed to like gun blazing badass and all that. I think it was just like really trying to tell like a humanistic story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it is a very. Oh, it's kind of like a very disturbing scene a little bit. Because I mean, you have this character that he knows he's gonna die. The other character knows that he's gonna die. Like everyone knows he's gonna die,
Yeah.
but yet the one by his side is trying to convince him you're not gonna die, you're not gonna die, and he's doing a pretty good job, you know, convincing him. Like, and I believed it for like a second. Then I'm like, no, he's gonna die,
Yeah.
you know. Um, which is very like like because I mean he's supposed to be a cop and he's supposed to be ready to die. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what cops. You know what I mean? Like like they know this, but when the time comes, like they're not ready for it.
Yeah. It
Still
comes
not
to a
ready for
shock
it.
to him.
You know,
Yeah.
they
'Cause-
break down and like show like I don't say weaker side, but like a very like
vulnerable.
a very hold up, I have the word, a very
So it's
vulnerable side.
I just said that.
Yes, but I had the word. Dickhead. Vulnerable.
I'm like vulnerable. And you're like, let me think of vulnerable. I was
No,
like,
because I was trying to think of. I had the word. Shut up. That's what I'm thinking.
all right, come up with it, man.
Yeah.
It's all good. But yeah, I get no. Yeah, I get it. I think we were both on the same thread on that. Cause like in the beginning, you kind of set up as like, oh, guys sticking around, and then heist gone wrong, and you already have like some of those guys having their badass moments, but also you see their vulnerabilities too. Cause this time around, I did notice like when they got caught up in like in a cut, the cops eventually got to them, but then Mr. White like he went guns blazing at them, and the cops are like getting shot and they die, and then you get that look like I close up on like Mr. Orange, and this was kind of sad. Like you just see him like kind of devastated, like, oh fuck, dude, like one of his own actually died. But then that's where things get complicated because he kind of does see like Mr. White as this guy that kind of is his own, but at the end of it, he still has a job to do. And I mean, to him, I did feel like he was emotionally invested in this type of group, but also he's also, yeah, I said that twice. He's also emotionally invested like in his job as well. So it's just like two threads that are like kind of intertwining him, and he's just kind of conflicted. And now he's like fucking bleeding out at this point. That he's just like, okay, well, yeah, this is it for me, really, But even though he didn't like expect it, because when he gets shot, like if you see his face, he was just like, oh shit, like his whole world just gets destroyed.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh fuck, I'm fucking dying, man. It's kind of like seeing like a kid who he got recruited as for the war. He's like is this young soldier, and when he gets shot, that impact on his face emotionally and just physically, just fuck. Like that's just it feels like his world got turned upside down, and then you kind of see this with Mr. Orange. It's just like fuck, because Mr. Orange is like the young guy in that crew, from
Well,
what I've seen
the
it.
way I saw it, and I realized this because I think, okay, I'm having trouble with like remembering who's
Should have
Mr.
rewatched the movie, man.
Pink, Orange, and all that because it's been a while since I've seen it. And
Yeah,
I remember the last time I saw it, I was pretty I was pretty high, which is like the best way to see friggin' Tarantino films,
mm,
right?
I agree.
Because when I don't know when I'm high and I'm watching Tarantino films, like I tend to see I tend to focus more on character,
Yeah.
like like because I don't know, like weed makes you realize like how
Do you, you
how good Tarantino is at establishing each character,
yeah.
like
Okay.
So
I
the way I saw it was kind of like
yeah. Go ahead.
you see this guy who's like Superman, and all of a sudden he's not Superman. He's like freaking like just a regular man,
Yeah.
just, like a boy, if anything, just
Yeah.
dying,
You're referring. Oh, okay. Yeah. You're referring to Mr. Orange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
um, you think he does his job. He goes in there, like he goes undercover, like he listens. He takes direction from his commanding officers, like very well, like how he takes their advice, very well, especially when they tell him like to be good undercover investigator or whatever, you gotta be a good actor.
Yeah.
You gotta build background, like you gotta believe it, like you gotta sell it, and he does that really well. Um, and then it all just breaks the fuck down when he's about to die,
Yeah.
like it all just goes out the window, like you know, um, yeah,
Yeah. I totally get it because that whole part where we go into his past, that's kind of interesting. And again, I think it's just Tarantino having to speak about acting. That was like a whole thread about acting and, techniques from acting, and they just like make a whole commentary about acting on itself. Because in some ways or another, yeah, like Undercover is a whole acting job. Or, I feel about being a completely different person while having like the real true self intact as well. It's just a whole act that they're doing just for the sake of one purpose.
yeah.
Did you find that interesting? Like, 'cause I'm guessing you watched this movie while we were in theater. So while you were learning about theater and then watching this, it's just like, oh wow, that's kind of neat, or that's interesting what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Actually, I watched this film after watching Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay.
Because like again, like I mean, I was interested in film, but like I was studying theater, and I watched Pulp Fiction because I had seen this play, um, called Pulp Shakespeare,
Poe
which is
what?
basically Pulp Fiction, but Shakespearean.
Wait,
Like
what was the play
and
call?
huh?
What was the play call again? Sorry.
Pulp Shakespeare,
Okay, right.
like Pulp Fiction, but
Yeah,
Pulp
yeah.
Shakespeare.
With Shakespeare.
Which was basically Pulp Fiction and just Shakespearean. Um, it was
That's
very
funny.
like it had an iambic pentameter and all that. Um, and I saw Pulp Shakespeare and I was like, no, before I remember before watching it, I hadn't heard of it, or it was like the theater club that we all got like a group rate to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
and I had just met David Ingo, I think. Um,
Okay.
you know, uh, and I remember asking him like, "Wait, so what's this play about?" And they're like, and he told me, "Oh, it's basically Pulp Fiction, but like Shakespearean." I was like, "Oh, okay, oh yeah, yeah, yeah." But I remember thinking like, "Oh, I've heard of Pulp Fiction, but I've never seen it. Damn it, I wish I had seen it before the play." And I
Yeah.
remember watching the play. I enjoyed the play very well, to the point where I was like, "Okay, I'm watching Pulp Fiction." So soon after that, I saw Pulp Fiction. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Now I get to play a little bit more. I appreciate the play a little
Yeah.
bit more. And I was like, "Oh, I gotta watch more of Tarantino. Let me see what else he made." And then that's how I ended up watching, Reservoir Dogs. Again, I love Pulp Fiction, but Reservoir Dogs, that's my favorite Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Definitely.
what is it that appeals more to you in Reservoir Dogs than it does like in Pulp Fiction? That you actually more would actually favor more that movie?
Um,
I'm just curious.
yeah. Uh, I don't know. I think some of it is the mystery, the who done it. Like it's not. It in a way it's a who done it as in who's the undercover cop. I mean, we know who it is,
Yeah.
but we're all watching it, unravel. You get me?
Mm.
Um, because I mean, like in other films, I feel like we're like the audience, at least me at least in other films, like me as an audience member, I'm like, okay, how the fuck do you guys not know that this is the undercover cop right here? How the fuck do you guys? You get me?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this one,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, of course they don't know it's him. Like, how could they know? Like, it's not so obvious. Like, it's not so
Yeah. You just you're more invested in how this whole thing is gonna unravel. That by the end of it, you're just anticipating that what you already know, how are the other characters are gonna take it.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
and being a theater geek myself, like the way just most of them die. I think most of them die, right? Like
All of them
all of them, or
die.
what?
All of them die.
Yeah, that's like great Shakespearean. Like that's like
That's
I
true.
think
Yeah.
Hamlet or
Yeah.
Macbeth or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Now I
you know,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
You, so yeah,
I, yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
again,
Now I agree. This is actually the most theatrical Tarantino has ever been, or he's ever done. Because one, he was smart about writing the screenplay, and two, he was right up. He was smart enough to write the screenplay, considering like he couldn't show much, or he couldn't have a whole spectacular. That he just condensed it down to like it's up to the dialogue and showing like the aftermath of like this big heist and stuff. So the drama is still there, despite not having like all this shit or all these pieces being intact or whatnot. But they're only showing you what it's important, but not showing you what's like. Uh, yeah, they just basically show you everything that's important at the fact, and that's what I mean. That's what the that's what most movies are. It's just like you could show like as much as you can, but you're only supposed to show the essentials. You know, which I think theater does a good job on that because it's not a spectacular. It's just the drama that's unfolding as you see it progress. Like drama's basically uncertainty being unfolded.
yeah.
You know, but yeah, I'm glad I figured that out. Yeah, I'm glad I asked you that question because I was kind of curious about it. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you do make a good point. Um,
I mean, Pulp Fiction is
yeah,
great. Don't get me wrong. For what it is. I mean, I don't think there's any other film like it. Really,
yeah.
I
I
don't know
I know
why,
why
but
I like Pulp Fiction, but I mean that's a talk for another day.
hmm
But for this movie, I really like that it's established Tarantino as like an artist, and you get to see like the different influence that he has, and it's just like this is year one, and already he already seeing like the influence he already has. I could see he has the influence on spaghetti westerns, crime dramas from like whether it's like foreign films like from China or American films, gangster films, and sort of that style that's just like that he's not telling the story in order. So you're getting glimpses of like characters. So it's like, you get a depth of everyone. So you kind of do see what Pulp Fiction did in this movie, but it was just like the mini version or the condensed, not the condensed. I would say like the beta version of that, of what that film was and stuff. So it's just like, okay, this is the building blocks of what the next movie was gonna be about, or the other movies that he's gonna make after that. At this point, you know. So yeah, that's very interesting. How are you on beer?
um, I finished it already.
Fucking lagging it. I thought I was gonna sip on this. I mean, I thought I was gonna like chug this whole beer. But I guess I like talking about this movie more. um, how would you rate your beer out of
I actually
five?
liked it a lot. I would rate it like a 4.7 or 8.
4.7. Oh, we're doing it in quarter system, so it's like so
Not a
based on
4.
quarter system, it's just like 1.5, 1.5, 1.75, or 3.75 or whatever
Okay, so out of 4.
out of five.
Uh, Out of 5.
Yeah.
That's what I said. 4.7, 4.8.
Okay. 4.75 it is. Quarter systems, bro. No, I believe you. Yeah, I think you would rate it that. Unless you want to do 5 out of 5. I don't know. That's up to you. I'm just kidding.
I'm good.
Yeah, 4.75 it is. Um,
All right.
sorry. The only reason why we do it like this because Untapped does it like that. So I guess we're addressing them to their standards. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll give this a solid 4 out of 5. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I think this is a pretty good beer. I like it. It's a blonde ale. I mean, if I would have drank it faster, I think that would have been like 4.5. But I'll give it a 4. So I think we're good on that one. All right. I'm gonna go get my other beer. Do you have another beer? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Go get you.
We can do
Go
our
get yours
top.
first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's what we're trying to decide. We're like, who's going first? We can't both leave. Someone has to be here to talk to the
So
people.
it's just, I mean, not trying to tell you how to do your pod, but I mean, don't we usually do like top 1?
What do you mean top
Top
1? You mean top 2?
Top every scene?
We'll get to that. Let's just get more on the beers. I want to get loose and goosey up in here. But yeah, what a great movie we're discovering. We're discovering a lot of things. We're discovering it's very theatrical, very impressive for the time. Show what you don't tell. Yeah, but yeah, I do remember this movie being very clear. I don't know if they're gonna make a remaster of this movie because when I watched this movie, it was just very much, for lack of better words, of its time. And you kind of see like the grains and kind of a little. It was a little faded for me, but I mean I think Pulp Fiction is the same way too. So I don't know, man. Anyways, I watched Pulp Fiction like the other day. I know we're talking about Pulp Fiction, which is not the Pulp Fiction episode, but you know, it's leading up to that episode, which that episode would be released. We're actually gonna show that episode 2 years or less than 2 years from now. I guarantee it's less than 2 years because we're not gonna do it like in October or 2 years from now in 2024. Probably like early 2024 or mid 2024. Who knows? I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm glad you guys are tuning in. This is a really good one. I always wanted to talk about this movie because this movie was like, this isn't our first time talking about Tarantino, but of course I wanted to talk about other Tarantino's this film because I know his last movie is going to be coming up. I don't know how soon. From the day of from what we know of today, which is like October 2022. I don't know if that's gonna date. Well, definitely date us. I still haven't heard any news about that, but who knows what it is. Projects that it could possibly be. He did see that. He did say that this is gonna be like an epilogue of all the movies that he's made. So I don't know what that. I mean, you have some idea of what he means, but you're not really sure what the movie's gonna be about. There's been talk that he was gonna do a Star Trek movie that he wanted to make of his own fashion, and I can't imagine that one. But I bet it was gonna be fucking good. Or in some ways, it's just like, oh my god. What the hell? Also from this movie, there is a Vic Vega in this movie. That's one of the characters' name. But in Pulp Fiction, there's also Vincent Vega, which both those movies are connected because they both happen to be brothers. So we were gonna have like a double V Vega movie. I think that's what he called it. Having both characters, John Travolta and Michael Madison, in those roles. But I think eventually the project went on to development for too long that they both got too old. And they wouldn't have they wouldn't have been too old to make those movies because they were still supposed to be pretty young. But I don't know how that's going to look like. I mean, in a different alternative reality, that movie does exist, but not in this one. I don't know. Just saying.
I'm back.
Yeah. Did you hear about the like supposedly? Because you know how there's like a Vic Vega in this movie, and then in Pulp Fiction there's Vincent Vega, which is John Travolta, and supposedly both of those guys are brothers. And then they were supposed to make a movie together.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Really? Yeah, so supposedly, because both their last names are Vega. Because we have Vic Vega, which is like Mr. Blonde. And then in Pulp Fiction, we have Vincent Vega. And they're actually both brothers. Like officially they're both brothers, and they were supposed to be in a different movie together, both acting as like, brothers. They're coming from two different movies, but in this and the movie that Tarantino had an idea for, they were gonna have their own movie together. Playing themselves like it was like a prequel to both those movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear about that.
You never heard about that? That shit.
Nah. I didn't realize the whole Vega connection.
Yeah, apparently it's like both those Vega brothers. Let me get my beer real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it. Oof.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wish I could have watched that movie again.
Yep.
Alternative realities. Who knows? Fuck.
Maybe it'll be his.
Huh?
Maybe it'll be his final film.
I doubt it. Because they're too old. But, I mean, they could be recasted, but that'll be kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I really don't know. Anyways, I got this beer. This is the Naughty Hots IPA from... Hey, look at that. Barrel Brothers. And we were just talking about the Baker Brothers. I don't know. I think that was consciously my thinking about that. And that's why I got it. But it kind of looks like a little stylish in that sense. Very underworld, very gangster in that way. So, I don't know. That was my conscious thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good. What'd you get?
I got this Downtown Brown. Again.
Oh, I
don't
seen
know.
that. Yeah.
The imagery reminded me of I don't know, Tarantino and the characters in Reservoir Dogs a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially them at the diner when I
It's
mean,
barely-
I don't think
yeah.
they're drinking at the diner, but
Yeah, it's very urban like. It's
Yeah.
like Picasso. It's
with
cool.
the suit and everything, like
It's
I
cool.
mean, they're
It's
not wearing
Picasso.
colored suits, but still, like,
Yeah.
you know what they were. Imagine
Yeah, very elegant.
this would probably be Mr. Purple.
Mr. Purple.
There's no purple.
Can I be a Mr. Purple? No. Because there's another Mr. Purple working on another job, so you're going to be Mr. Pink. Wait, I have that clip.
Here are your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink.
Why am I Mr. Pink?
Because you're a Here are your names.
We'll play it later.
Mr. Brown,
Hey, I'll just...
Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr.
Yeah.
Blue, Mr. Orange.
When he was about to say, like,
Why am I Mr.
why am
Pink?
I Mr. Pink?
Because you're a
I cut it off right there. That's where it cuts off. That's where it cuts off, man. You can't really display that kind of language. This is a family show, so, and also we're very progressive. So we come a long way from that. But I mean, that's another thing about this movie. It kind of disdated itself a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's crack open these beers. I just want to get a little sound. Wish I could put a little... I don't know if it's loud enough. I want to put like a sound effect of the beer pouring. Oof. Got a healthy head right here. It's kind of big. Ish. This is a really carbonated beer.
Or maybe just the pour, right?
No, I poured it right. It's just sometimes that shit happens. Like sometimes they put that shit like
Feel like you gotta retake your whole bartending course just because
No, I
the
think
way
I'm
you pour
right.
that shit.
Maybe,
Fuck
I don't
yeah.
know. Just for I had a thread, but I forgot. Anyways, I got a big old head. And somehow Erik didn't. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that guy. That guy's fucking up in life. But this is actually looks way more blonder than the last one. Or just as blonde. Yours looks pretty amberish.
Yeah, it's darker in here.
Yeah.
The
Is
light-
it darker
yeah.
than it looks like?
Yeah, like you guys are seeing, like maybe because of the light is right behind it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. All right, I'm gonna take a sip of this. All right, cheers, friend.
Cheers. Okay.
Yeah, I'll play it later. Hmm, interesting.
Uh,
I think this has mosaic hops on it. I'm tasting like mosaic hops.
it's kind of weedy.
Yeah, is that an IPA?
It's a brown ale.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
Let's see.
citrusy.
Downtown brown ale, 5% alcohol. This is 1 pint, six fluid ounces. Uh, it's by Lost Coast Brewery
Yeah.
from California. Uh, Downtown brown, an award-winning mild and nutty brown ale. A sophisticated blend of chocolate and caramel malts. Oh, there you go. I didn't mean weedy. I meant chocolate. I don't know how the fuck that.
It's up to you, bro. Sometimes some things are witty and they don't even describe it there. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's up to your interpretation, really.
and of chocolate and caramel malts imported from England, along with American barley malt.
Oh,
The
I got
flavor
style
is
notes.
further defined by careful addition of Mount Hood and Cascade hops. Not overpowering, but an easy, refined brew that complements almost any food.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got a couple notes out here. There's one that says style notes. This one just says not too hoppy, not too heavy, just naughty enough. Mm. Two row, pale ale, and wheat malts form a balanced foundation that refuses to overpower the hops spankers, which I think they just branded their own hops. Like it literally says hop spankers, and then there's like that copyright at the end.
Huh?
Even-handed extractions of hop aromas and flavors. Citrus, green tea, and tropic fruits deliver a few extra licks of their own, giving you the tongue. It's actually a really weird. I don't know. Yeah, extra licks of their own, giving you the tongue lashing you've been waiting for. Hmm. Oh, there's more. Uh, the hop spanker, which I guess this is the hops that they use, which they branded. Some breweries actually like brand their own hops. This one's called the hop spanker. Let's see. We whip this unruly hops into shape using our pan. There it is. Penning dry hopping machine known as the hop spanker. Some of them may have been liked, even like it, a little too much. Haller 2 Blanc and Eldorado hops smack a balanced yet playful malt base right in the caboose, leading to a surprisingly well-behaved finish. One that will leave you saying, "Thank you. May I have another?" What is this fucking Oliver Twist? Um, this is actually, I thought it was like mosaic hops, but I think this is an interesting taste of like whatever the hell they were talking about. Because this is definitely smooth, but it's not as hoppy. It's not bitter. It's just like, it's pretty cool. Like, I like it. This is smooth. This is really smooth.
I don't know. I kind of like mine at first. This second sip that I took, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah, it
coming
takes
around.
a couple just
You
to,
know?
it takes a couple just to really know like how you really like it. Which we'll give you guys another report on this. Really,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Um,
get that ratings. Num num num. All right, moving on. So overall, we could agree that this story is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said before, we're getting like before the heist, after the heist, the aftermath, and then glimpses of like very important characters. You get to know who they are, and then you get the rest of the story, like how it, like, you know, finishes, which they come in acts, very theatrical. So it's like that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's Tarantino's like whole thing about things. It's just he knows how to split acts and what he wants to tell in every act to establish like an overarching like story that he's trying to tell. So um I'll give him that. He's a very good storyteller and a good one at that. So, you know, that's why we look up to him in that sense. Um
Yep.
but I mean, what makes movies are the moments. So, I mean, do you want to talk about like our top twos? If you could talk about one top moment. You don't have to go first. Just
All
say.
right. All right. Before I give my first top
Yeah.
pick, again, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, and the last time I saw it was high.
What do you remember
Uh,
that was more outstanding when you were high?
yeah, but I mean, it's more like in the moment you're like more into it, but afterwards you're like, okay, I saw it, but did I really see it? Like,
Did I really see it? Did I remember what I felt like or what?
Um, no, but I'm just reminding you guys of that because yeah, up until I think Monday, I was under the impression that we're gonna do a pod on just Tarantino, so I was getting ready for that. In fact, I had seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
Hmm.
to prepare for this one
I
because I was
literally
like,
said
okay,
I literally said Reservoir Dogs first and then Tarantino.
no, you did not.
Yeah, I did.
No,
Look at the text. Were you high?
no,
No, it's fine either
no.
way.
No. So I was in the impression that we're gonna cover all Tarantino, but then you said Reservoir Dogs, and I was like, fuck, had I known, I would have seen Reservoir Dogs again to prepare for this pod. So apologies. But I mean, no, I mean, if I had to pick a top scene for this one, I would probably reveal, it would probably be when Mr. Orange finally tells, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen this movie. But he tells the other cop, the one that gets his fucking ear
Yeah.
chopped off.
Oy. Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, you haven't seen it. You did not watch any of this part.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah. If you haven't seen the film.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. When he tells him, I'm a cop. I'm a cop, but the cop's like, yeah, I know. Which is like, like he knows and he didn't say, think about that. He didn't say anything.
Well, he's doing his part too, so he's just like, well, I'm getting
Yeah,
tortured for this part. So in some ways, he's also acting as well.
yeah. That was like, holy crap, dude. I mean, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, but like, fuck, like getting her ear taken off, and not saying, hey, dude, like, that's the cop right there, save your fucking ass.
I think
Like,
I didn't think he had much of a choice. Even if he told him, he still was gonna get tortured. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's true too.
you know.
And the guy that chopped off the ear, you can tell he's a fucking psycho. So maybe he's like, not even if I tell him like
Yeah, it's
this bit of information is not gonna stop him.
yeah,
My ear's gone.
yeah.
You know.
Give shit to all the cops as much as you can, but there are some cops like just they just know how to read people. I think that should be a criteria if you want to be a cop. But for the most part, like either you're a shitty cop or a good cop, like just knowing how to read people is like a priority. Um, you know what that shit reminds me of?
What?
Breaking Bad. Spoilers alert. There is that part where at the very end where Hank was about to get killed by one of those psychos, but then like I
The
think
neo Nazis?
yeah the neo Nazis, and they were at the desert, and then Walt was like gonna give up the information, but then Hank just looks at him. He's like, what did he say? You might be the smartest man ever, but you're dumb enough to see that he already made his decision.
Yeah.
So
You're
it's
the
just
smartest man I know, and yeah, you're stupid enough not to realize he already made
he already made up
his
his decision. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It was along those lines.
Yeah,
And
I quoted.
I don't think I quoted it right, but I think you were trying to quote me better. But then I think
I think I put
ultimately
it
read between both our lines. So yeah.
just
Yeah, it just
you know,
yeah, it just reminded me of that. Just being a good
and
cop reader.
with both of ours, that's all they
Hey,
said.
we made magic, bro. We kind of
Close
met in
enough.
the middle on that shit. Anyways, anyways, yeah, it kind of reminded me of like that type of vibe of having to read cops and stuff. So I think that's Red right. If anything, that's why he didn't tell him. He's just like, this guy's a fucking psycho. He's gonna kill me anyways.
Yeah, and Hank in Breaking Bad is a good cop, like a really good cop. The only reason why he was late to catching Walter was because he didn't really bother to read him at all. Like he was like Walter, like what the fuck, really? But like once it clicked, you know.
Yeah.
Um.
All right, that was a whole sidetrack, but yeah, I was done with that thread. But yeah, yeah, that scene. Yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting scene. Because they both know that they're deep inside of that ship. And they both know they could actually die from that situation. Which the other cop actually did die.
Miss Orange?
No, the other cop, you know how like they came back in. And then they said like, oh, what happened here? It's like, he was about to like burn him down. It's like, oh, well, he still left the cop alive. And then I forgot who shot him. The cop.
Nazieri? No.
Wait, was it?
I forget, dude. It's been a while since I've seen this film.
I used to seen this movie like a week ago, but then again, I was like a little tipsy. I think it was Nice Guy Eddie. I think it might have been Mr. B. Oh, fuck, I don't know. It doesn't matter. He died. Yeah, really interesting. Are you cool with that scene? Sorry. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I mean, if you've seen the movie, and like you remember this, you definitely remember that scene, and I feel like it just speaks for itself,
Yeah, it really does.
And again, that's just the from the top of my head. If I would have seen it, if I would have gotten a warning, longer than just 2 days ago, I would have seen it, and I would have probably picked the scene. So.
Okay, yeah. Either way, it would have been a good scene. Yeah, good pick.
Oh wait, no. Because now I'm wondering. Wait, remind me. I mean, if you remember correctly, why did Mr. Orange even tell him I'm a cop? Was he hoping for that cop to save him or something, or why did he reveal that?
I guess I'll make this my scene. When he does actually tell him, I think he just. Okay, I remember. So, at the beginning of the movie, they gave him like code names, right? And then he said, "Don't share anything with anyone, not even your Christian name, not what you went to prison, not what you do for a living, none of that. Just keep everyone away from each other, because if you get pretty close, like that's pretty risky. So it's just like, be professionals. It's just like don't disclose anything about yourselves. But I think at the end of it, like either way, people did disclose themselves a lot of information, especially with Mr. White and Mr. Orange, to the point where they still they still didn't know their names. But at the end of it, I think he wanted him to know that he was the undercover cop, and that relationship was real. That at the end of it, he just wanted to come clean without having to both of them die without knowing of each other. So I think it was just like at the end of it, it was like that full disclosure, but also like that trust that they built, and saying like, yo, by the way, I don't want you to think that I wasn't the guy that was undercover. I actually was the undercover cop, so I'm just letting you know with all true and honesty. I'm sorry that it came down to this. And then just him, it was very nihilistic in that sense. Like it was just like an end point that was just a doom point at the pretty much like impending doom for both of them. So it's like, oh, what's the point? I just might as well tell you now. And I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Like, I like you, dude, but it's like, we're going down with this at the same time. So,
Yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, the drama of it all, really. So I think that's what I took away from it this time around. So we just like you said in the beginning, we all know how he was gonna die, but by the time he died, he also pretty much let out the big secret, as they were both gonna be fucked in the end either way. So it's just like, you know what? At this point, fuck it. Just fuck it. So I mean, it's pretty violent, very. I guess I would say a little depressing, but also just like, oh well. I think that's what Shakespearean is. Is that impending doom coming at you, and that's a little depressing, and overly dramatic. So it's coming at you like right there in your face. So yeah, I did say I will make that my scene, but yeah.
All right. Well, uh, I meant, why did Mr. Orange tell the cop, that he was a cop?
Why didn't he?
Why did he?
Why did he?
Do you remember
I
why he made that decision?
I think I
Was it
explained my
because
version.
the cop
Well,
told him?
yeah, that's how I interpret it. I think that's why he told him. I think it was just fuck it. I think at this point, like, he gave him his choice. He didn't want him to die not knowing that he was right. I mean, completely wrong. Well, no, thinking that he was right when he was actually wrong. So
Yeah.
without having him to die in a lie, he would rather just tell him the truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it was just something noble about him that they just did. Sorry, I should have just said that instead, but. Yeah, it's a good thing you actually asked that again, so that way I clarify that
Clarify.
answer. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Should I go with my second top?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hmm. Second top scene. Would probably be with I think it's Mr. Pink and Mr. White. Like, they go out to the side, and Mr. Pink's like, oh, like, what the fuck are you doing with Mr. Orange? Like, he's gonna fucking die. Like, what are you doing? Like, Mr. White is about to reveal
Yeah.
like more about himself, and Mr. Pink's like, whoa, whoa, wait. Were you just about to tell me your fucking name? Like, dude, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no. That's breaking protocol, bro. Like,
Yeah.
we we had like fucking rules established, like you stick to them, like this and that. That just, I don't know. It just, it's very. It breaks down the circumstances really well, like in how
Mm-hmm.
how the characters are adapting to the circumstances. You get me?
Yeah, yeah.
You have Mr. Pink who's sticking to like okay protocol. Like, hey, we're not revealing shit.
Hey,
Because,
let's
like,
keep this professional, all right?
yeah,
Yeah, he
And
was
Mr.
that
White's
guy.
just like, fuck
Yeah.
that. All that's out the fucking window. I got this fucking kid dying here, dude. Like, you know, like fuck it. We're fucked already. We don't know how fucked we are, but we're definitely fucked. Like like how the fuck did we get found out? Like, you get me?
Yeah.
Break down the characters down to their like
True
like the
selves.
bottom layers, the true layers. You get me?
Yeah.
It brings out their true colors. You get me?
Yeah. Yeah, in the time of panic, you really get to see how um just through like their own reactions, you get to see who they really are under that, under that vulnerability that they're in.
Yeah,
Yeah, I totally get it. Um wow, actually remember that scene very well.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
Yeah, that was actually a really good
breakdown.
reiteration of that. Cuz yeah, basically they're at this panic and now there's like this mistrust among each other. So that's where um that's where the drama really begins. It's like, well, who done it or who's the fucking rat, you know? Um, yeah. Is there anything you want to say about it, more about that? Or are you good? I'm just being polite, really.
No, it's just again, the way the true colors are shown. Like it just shows Mr. White as more empathetic and like selfless to a point where he's risking it all, like including his own life and his own freedom. And you have Mr. Pink, not breaking. Like, no, dude, like fuck that. Like, I'm not going. Yeah, we're fucked, but there's still a chance that I may make it through this, and fuck everything. Like I'm making I'm making this through. I don't know how, but like I'm not revealing shit. Like um, yeah. Then it's kind of self-centered. You know,
Yeah,
it's like a nice polar opposite. You know, yeah.
yeah. There
That's,
really
that's a
is.
good
Just the dynamic between those characters. Interesting. All right. What would be my top two? I think I'm like thinking about like the flashbacks going back, but well, actually, the flashbacks were pretty good. I mean, I could talk about like how Vic Vega got out of prison and then now he's getting offered this job. It's a good scene. Or when like what's his Mr. White is they do know him by name because they do say it at the end and how he gets offered the job, which is completely different like uh juxtaposition of like the relationship between that because one of them is like fun and more playful and the other one's just like down serious and very respectful and stuff. So it's a cool. Um, but I think the one thing that stands out is when they had that segment with Mr. Orange, and basically he's telling himself he's already like joined the group, but he's trying to prove himself. So by the way, he's proving himself is actually um, oh, there's another thing I'm gonna mention is he's telling this story right where he's in the restroom with those cops and he's like taking a piss and then those cops they come in with like a canine. The canine's like barking very loud and then it's becoming like a very suspenseful, very sus situation. And it's one of those stories where it's like, oh yeah, I had that encounter with a cop and then I got away with that shit type of stuff. So it's just like, oh, it's one of those stories that pretty much prove yourselves like, you're a badass, and you hate cops as much as the next person. And it's also like what, because it was like previous to like the scene of like him having to, you're gonna be on the cover, but you also have to act. And when you have to act, you're also telling a story, and when you're telling that story, you're also acting. So you're being a little storyteller in and in itself. And this movie does a good job of like, being very self-aware of what this movie's about. It's a movie about storytelling in itself, and then here's this cop telling a story just to prove himself to the crew to further the story, his own story. So it's like, oh, that's an interesting take. It's like a mini story within a story, in that sense. So it's like, oh, super meta. So I like that story, but also I wish that story added more. So it's like, oh, how the fuck did he prove himself? What happened? But I like the way that Tim Roth is another great character actor that executes that scene very well, and it was just like something that's like an actor's actor would do, and he himself is that actor. So it's like, oh, it's very fitting what he was trying to say, trying to fit in with like the group and trying to talk like them, act like them, and just finding himself within that environment. And I think that whole bit really executes itself pretty well, as well as like Tim Roth having to say that shit. So it's like, yeah, which that'll be my top second scene, really.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
And it's a very, it's very descriptive of like the character and like his objective. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it kind of reminds me of The Departed, which we covered about a year
Yeah, we
ago
did.
in this podcast. Um, you know how they got to go undercover and sell the fact that they're criminals. You know,
Yeah.
through and through. You know, like they cannot for one moment like have a they can't be made out for not even for a slight moment or
Yeah.
else. You know.
I
Um,
I think the key differences in that movie is that if you pay attention to it, he actually took more risk, and he had like a careless um attitude about him when he was undercover, while this guy was being a little too careful.
yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, like the carelessness kind of sold it, but the him telling the story and being acting very much like them kind
Yeah.
of gave it away a little bit, because the main boss, he at the end of the movie, he's all like, he's the only one that I wasn't sure of. That's what he said. And I was like, oh fuck, he played it a little too well that he became sus.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just up to me. That's how I kind of see things, really. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another good movie to bring up for undercovers and stuff. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Is there any other scenes that stood out to you? I'm done with mine, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of great scenes. Like, I mean, it's all really like again, like I mean, maybe because I saw it high as fuck the last time I saw it. But like, and I was really focusing on character, but like, I mean, the taking of the year, like, why are you doing this, dude? Like, what kind of fucking psychopath are you? Like, dude, like, why? Like,
Yeah. That's
but
it's really interesting, because I think that whole scene is like, yeah, why even have that in the movie? Because Tarantino actually was fighting to keep that scene, because um I don't want to bring up his name, but the Weinsteins did make this movie, despite all this shit. Like, they actually did make great movies. Harvey Weinstein actually didn't want the ear cutting scene, but Tarantino cut it. But then they come to an agreement where, like, okay, we're gonna keep it, but we're not gonna show the whole thing. you know. So it's funny that you kind of bring that up in that context, like, oh, like, what kind of guy does this? Oh, well, what kind of director thinks about this and wants to keep it? And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, he didn't want to keep it. Weinstein didn't want to keep it. Tarantino did keep it, but at least he was like, not sick enough to actually show it, you know, because it would have been a little too violent for like the motion picture of association. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Also, nice guy Eddie. That has to be like one of the greatest fucking aliases of all time,
I
right?
agree.
When it gets it just has like a ring to it, like
Nice guy Eddie. Who's this guy? That's Eddie. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, Eddie. It's like saying Goodfellas. You know, it's like, who's this guy? He's a good fella. You know? Yeah, he's a good fella. You know? Yeah. You know that's Sean Pence's brother? The guy that plays him? Yeah. Forgot his real name. Something Penn. He has the same last name. And yeah, when because this time around I read, I mean, I always read the credits, but sometimes I like read the credits and I notice something different, and I'm like, oh, Penn. And I look at his face, like, he kind of does look like Sean Penn. I was like, I wonder if they're brothers, and I found out they are brothers. I was like, oh, there's probably like people saying like, yeah, no shit, dumbass. I was like, I'm sorry, he hasn't showed up in enough stuff. This is the only movie I seen him in. But yeah, he's God, I really like that. I really like that character. He does such a good job in that shit. He was just like he's believable in the way he acts or delivers his line, but as well he's the way he presents himself as well. So it's just like, oh, that's like really good, like very believable. I was like, fuck, I wish I could like see him more in different movies. But if you guys know who this actor is and recommend his movies, so give us a shout out. Actually, shout out to us, or reach out to us and let us know about those movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to bring up was because obviously, like throughout like Tarantino's like career, a lot of people have been complaining about like the way he like approaches certain things, especially with like black characters, and then having to repeat like the N word and stuff. And I was like, oh, like he keeps saying that, and he's like white guy. But I was like, I thought to myself like it's in like an immoral or like an immoral standpoint. I was like, yeah, it isn't right. But then like watching this movie, I think it wasn't this time around, but like I think a couple years back, it made me realize that he's portraying like white men. I'm talking about the scene in particular where they're in a car and they're talking about like, black people, or like, black people like in TVs and stuff. Cause first they just like throwing out the N word and like, oh, like, not just N word that's like, slapping this woman and whatnot. And then all of a sudden they just start like talking about black women and then fetishizing them and shit. And it's just like saying all this shit about them, like in a very, disgusting fashion or in that matter. And it's just like sort of fetishizing them in that sense. And I was just thinking like, that's how racist as people are, like realistically. Because if you realize it, they even like kind of address this in Do the Right Thing, where they do talk shit, but they also have appreciation of like black people if they're famous or they look up to them in a certain way. But I don't think I should say like look at them in a better way, because they don't do that, but instead they kind of fetishize like the women in this movie in that way, because that's how racists actually fucking talk. It's like, what, but like he's just only writing what he knows. Again, we had a whole talk about this before, and having to come to terms of this is how certain people are, and just writing them like in that light, it's only bringing more light into that. But also it's a stylistic creative choice, but also a very bold one. And it's just like, well, I mean, take it as it will, but that's just how it is, really. I don't want to like brush over that, but it's just, I don't
No,
really
I
agree.
think, I mean,
I don't really agree with the scene, but I mean, he's
yeah,
been
but
exposed to that.
yeah, but I think both of those scenes, like them talking about like the black actresses, and then
Mm-hmm.
Steve Buscemi's character, and the other conversation, asking the other characters, why are you guys acting like a bunch of fucking N words,
Yeah.
Like I think he's establishing how these fucking like criminals, even they dehumanize black people.
Yeah.
You get me?
So there's
Like
a
they
hypocrisy in that
you know what I
too,
mean?
as well. So it's just like, I did, I did see that too. So it's just like, you know,
Yeah, but
not being
and
hypocrites, but I think it was
think
just super critical of what they were, because people really are fucking critical. And
yeah, but I and I'm sure that most people get that, but I think just playing devil's advocate, I think the argument is, was it really necessary?
yeah,
And to be honest with you, as much as I love Tarantino, I do question that myself. I mean, was it necessary, dude? Like,
yeah.
how
I,
does
like I said,
that? You talk
I
about,
did, yeah, like
huh?
I said, I did find that scene like to be kind of like a little ish.
It's just,
And,
I mean,
but
if
it
you're
was
gonna
just
have
like,
it, like,
yeah,
huh?
if you're gonna have it, like you're just writing what he knows, because again, he's been exposed to that type of thing.
No, okay, again, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure he has, but have it like weave it into the story a little bit more. Like, have it fit. You get me? Like, yeah, it tells a
I think
lot about the
establishing
character.
more character. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we
but
could
I
agree
mean,
to that.
how does it fit in? How does it help tell the story overall?
Yeah,
Like, why do we need to know this
I
about the
don't think
character?
I don't think it does. I think it's just establishing style over just
Yeah,
more the ongoing plot. But again, it's bullshitting at best, really. Because again,
yeah,
like, what do we need the beginning part of the movie when they're just bullshitting? This is also them bullshitting as well.
yeah. But I mean, that kind of tells like that beginning scene, that the beginning, bullshitting about like like a virgin and the tipping, that fits more into the story than than the N word, conversation, than the racist conversation, because the first two, like a flower and the tipping, um, that actually tells about the characters, but it also tells about like how this was just supposed to be like a regular day, a typical day for these criminals. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So it weaves into the story quite nice, but it's just the the other racist conversations. It's like, dude, why?
Yeah,
Okay, you can have that, you can, but why? You need to explain why. Like, how does it help tell the story? It tells about the characters. I get that, but why do we need to know that about the characters?
yeah, yeah.
And I
That's
think that's
that is a
where
very valid
uh
question.
that's where Tarantino falls short a little bit of
Yeah,
explaining.
especially
You
over
get me?
time. Yeah, especially over time and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's gonna, you know,
I don't think it's gonna diminish.
story,
Like,
huh?
I don't think it's gonna diminish the movie overall. But it's just something to question. And again, I think that's where this movie dates itself, really.
Yeah,
But also, I'm also thinking like, I mean, it's a far stretch, but also like it's kind of connecting into like black exploitation movies as well. But they're making a commentary about that. But it's just again, that's more of a stylist, creative
Yeah,
choice than anything else, really. But it doesn't really for the plot. It's just more character work and who they are.
yeah.
But aside from that, I can't really think about anything else. It's just
It's
character. It's just
yeah,
doing more benefit for the characters, really, which we get. They're
yeah.
pieces of shits, but I mean, we already know that. We already established that, but it's getting even further. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but it's like okay. Do you remember Once Upon a Time? After Leonardo characters meets with that famous director, and then afterwards he's at the parking lot with Brad Pitt's character, and
Yeah.
he's like telling him how this director is offering him roles
Yeah,
in
yeah. I know where you're
Italy
going.
and whatever the fuck,
Yeah.
spaghetti films and Western films in Italy and what the fuck. And he's like about to break down, and then Brad Pitt's character is like, hey, what the fuck? They're like, come on, don't let the
Not
Mexicans
yeah, not in front of the
see that they're
Mexicans.
crying.
Yeah.
Let you see crying. Okay, that was a little racist, but he used the word Mexicans, which is true. It's fact.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
I
there
felt
were
like
a
it
lot
was a
of
little
Mexicans
toned
there
down.
working.
Yeah. I felt like
You
it was a
know,
little toned
but
down because if it was made like in the 90s, it would have been a complete different word,
yeah,
you know?
but I'm sure it would have, and it would have probably fit better than how he used the N word in Reservoir Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he would have used a racial slur towards Mexicans, yeah, it would have been racist, but we would have been like, okay, we see why. It kind
Yeah.
of fits the story a little bit more. I mean, like they, in fact, they would have been more on brand with the character. It would have been like, oh yeah, of course, this is what like the 1960s,
Yeah, it's
70s or something.
60s. It was 60s.
Yeah, the 1960s. So like, of course they're racist. You get me? And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, okay, yeah. They're like the characters in the rest of the dogs. I think that time was probably like the 90s or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
in the time
still,
period,
there was racism in the
yeah,
90s.
they were racist back then too. But I don't know. It just it would have flowed better, Um, you know.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, even though Brad Pitt's character says Mexicans, the way he says it is still
The connotation there is just like, it's borderline, like, yeah.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I wasn't mad at it. Like it was like
Yeah.
facts. Like that's the way it was. It
Mm-hmm.
probably still is that way, but
Yeah.
it's
Very
more low
much.
key now. Yeah, you know, that's the only thing that I can't quite defend Tarantino. I mean, you can have it again. You can have it, but just you gotta let us know why. You
Yeah.
can't just have it for the sport of it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah. It's pretty bold on his side, too. So it's like, but again, this is a movie that was made like in the 1990s, and they don't make films like this anymore. So in that sense, unless you're Tarantino, but Mary Tarantino has more of a consciousness of today's sensibility, just a little bit, not too much. And yeah, you can make a movie like that's like borderline bold, like what he did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it could have been there, but due to sensitivities, it's just gonna set on Mexican. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to address that because obviously, like, I don't want to brush that over because that's been a complaint in most Tarantino's films. It's just the racism and the misogyny. Oh my god, the misogyny. Um, I realized that there was no women. There was hardly any women with any speaking roles in this movie. It was just pure sausage fest. And the only women that were like shown in the movie either get shot or thrown off the car, or were like off screen or something. So I was like, oh fuck. But again,
Yeah.
it's gonna get date itself really, and it's like, fuck it. But
Yeah.
overall, it doesn't diminish the art really. It's just the time it got made,
Yeah.
and his thinking as a director, or that where he was in place and time, because he's most of his movies that he gets inspired was, during the 70s and 60s, which were not really sensitive times. So he's like implementing or, putting that spirit into his own film. So it's like, oh, of course, you're going to get that result in that sense. It's just like, yeah, which uh, I'm not defending him. I'm just making 2 plus 2 equal to fucking 4, logically. That's where the heading is. There was another scene. Oh, so the scene where like I think it's Mr. White. It's right before the heist. He like drives by somewhere, and there's like an orange balloon that comes across his way, and you see it right behind his rear window. You don't remember that?
No.
Really? That was like foreshadow. But here's the thing. It happened by accident. That wasn't meant to be in the film. But then once they saw that, they got an orange balloon and then had it appear again in the film. So it was just like something that was spot on. Like, oh, the orange balloon just, I don't know. That's one of the things about filmmaking. You just you just go along. Yeah, you just go along with it and just play with that shit, and just like, oh, that really did happen. So play along with the fucking coincidence.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? um. Damn, what was another thing? I mean, damn, I can't believe. I mean, we didn't overlook it, but just like the whole, just that whole torture scene with the music and everything, that's pretty iconic. But I mean, I think this is where it established Tarantino when he's using like music in that sense. But he's also using like music from like what he heard back in the days into something like very psychotic, which he does in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you think about like his music and his usage of music? Because this is where he established himself using the music. Because the only reason he couldn't use like a score or anything is because they were too broke. So they just said like, what if we just get licensed music and just, play along with it?
Honestly, I haven't given much thought to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't given much thought to it. Like, I don't know.
Do
I
you
feel
feel like
like
it just justifies like the feel for his movies, or is it just like
no, yeah.
something out
Okay.
of
Here's the
fun?
thing. Here's the thing about Tarantino. I'm pretty sure not like not a lot of stuff it happens by accident. He's very intentional on what he does. You can't
Yeah.
even like But the reason why I haven't really put much thought about it, like the music, is just he's not really known for that. Maybe it's an underrated,
Yeah, he kind of is known for that.
filmmaking elements that comes from Tarantino. Like he's not really known for it. It's probably something he should be more known for. But
I think he's known for
to be
that.
honest, what he's
It
known
has
for
changed.
is his like his dialogue, his storytelling, his characters.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you know.
I kind of disagree. He actually is very known for the use of soundtracks or use of music.
Oh, maybe. But I
Yeah,
just personally, I haven't paid much attention to it.
really.
I mean, right now when you
I
mention music in
yeah.
in Tarantino film, what comes to mind is I think they played like a Rick Ross song in the beginning of
Django.
Django.
I think that was like in the middle. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Um, like that's the only, not making fun of Tarantino, like, his music, it's, as a music as a filmmaking element, but like, I personally haven't paid much attention to it.
I think everyone has. I think you should have. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause,
sure, should have, but
yeah,
I'm telling you, personally, I haven't. It's just I don't know, dialogue, storytelling, and character take over for me personally. Like that's the thing, you
okay,
know.
yeah. No, I
And
understand.
I'm not saying like I'm not saying his storytelling is right here and like the rest of the elements are right here. No, like I'm just saying like I'm sure they're equally, but
Yeah,
personally, to me, storytelling, character and
yeah.
dialogue take
No, I
over.
get it. You go into it with a different lens than everyone else, and some people do have that consider in their lens, but it's just something that you personally doesn't don't
Yeah,
go
I
with
mean,
it. Yeah,
okay, I'm sure from now
yeah. I get
on I
it.
will.
Yeah. Now that
I'm
I
sure,
pointed that out, it's
yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
yeah, of
okay,
course.
yeah. Like now I'll be more, attentive to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's all good. Yeah, I guess that was one of my questions that I wanted to ask because that was actually a trait that he does. But I'm glad that it opened up your eyes, your doors, in that way.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a happy coincidence that became his now known trait. So it's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I can't think of anything right now, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think after this, I feel like people were very impressed with like what he could do, given with like the budget that he made. Because originally he had like less than $1 million to make this, but then when I think he reached out to Harvey Keitel, and by the time Harvey Keitel like um replied back, he actually gave him more money to make it, and then he got more actors to be a part of it, even to the point where like the producer of this movie actually backed out from like actually acting because his producer was actually going to be in this film, and then he was going to have a bunch of his friends to act in it. But with more money, he said like, okay, we can get more actors, more better talent. Still the budget was low to the point where like the actors had to come on their own costumes. So with Nice Guy Eddie, when he has like tracksuit, that's actually Penn's actual suit. That's his actual fucking tracksuit. And then
Hey,
everyone
that's
else,
actually that's actually what we do in theater and
yeah,
filmmaking too. Well, I mean, when you're broke,
yeah. When
but
you're
yeah,
broke, you just have to get what you can. So I think all the money went into like the props, the locations, and then everything fill up with themselves. And um this time around, I'm paying attention to sound. Um, so the sound really did help. It made it seem like something there that you can't see is very present. Especially when they got trapped in that cut and you could only see like police sirens, and then they're closing in and you actually see the cops, and then for that shot or for those couple seconds, it gave them a little bit of money, but anything longer it would have been a little too expensive, and you're just like, okay, just cut it there, and then just like move on from there on. So it's just like, oh, but you could see like the economical decisions that they were making between those shots, in between those edits. So I'm just like thinking that in that sense, and just fill it up with like sound effects because sound is a big factor when it comes to like film and stuff. So it's like it helps visuals
Hmm.
too, but it's like that. So I'm putting on my fucking cap on that shit when it comes to filmmaking and watching these movies. So it's like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. So it's cool. So yeah, um, yeah. After this, he made Pulp Fiction, which I felt like it was a little bit more of a budget because I think Reservoir Dogs made a lot of money because it did garner a lot of attention because people were actually looking at his way. But then like Pulp Fiction was just a tad a little bit more of a budget, so that way they could see what they could do more and maximize their profits. So it's like, oh, smarter moves, smarter play. But yeah, I would say like Jackie Brown is about the same way because I still feel like
All right, hold on.
it's in LA.
All right, hold on. Careful talking about that film. I haven't seen it.
Relax, I wasn't gonna spoil it.
Okay,
I
just
was
saying.
just saying about the budget wise. I'm just like,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
because
Yeah,
it's
just
just
saying.
yeah. I was gonna be a dick, but I was like,
No, stop, dude. I will fucking log out. Stop.
no, we're good. Yeah, definitely watch that movie. I just feel like by Kill Bill, I think he really amped uh his budget on filmmaking, and then by I don't know why I'm talking about budget, but I think this is just the things that I'm noticing now, producer wise. Um, yeah, I feel like Kill Bill was like pretty expensive. I think that was like at that point, like that was when he was upping his game. And then his most expensive was like those movies that were like in the 2000s, like Inglorious Bastards, fucking Jungle Unchained, and then Hateful Eight, because that was all costume design and fucking all that money went into production design, building up the sets and all that shit. You know, so I was just like, he's just amped up the game. He could really fucking tell, you know, because you watch this movie, yeah, you could see like certain things look like they didn't cost that much, but then like when you watch like the later movies, it's just like, oh, that shit costs a lot. Because you get big explosions, you get fires, you get all this shit. So it's just like him having to know how much he could do in a movie, and very much in his style, but just very like boom right in his face and stuff. It's just like, oh fuck. So I think his evolution really did grow with aesthetics, but as well as what he could do as like a big Hollywood director. You know, because it wasn't expecting this. It was just some guy that just like worked at a fucking video store in Torrance or wherever the fuck, Hermosa Beach, I think. And now he's just like making big Hollywood movies and stuff with big monies and big names, and everyone wants to, you know, be a part of his movies. So it's like, fuck, kudos to him. Came a long way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I mean, what do you think on the long run term for Tarantino is? I know he's like at the end of his career, supposedly what he's saying, but just like thinking about it retrospectively, how far he's come, like, uh, what do you think about like what he's made by far and the, I guess the achievements? I don't want to say that word, but just how much he's progressed over the years.
Well, I think his talent as a filmmaker is just undeniable,
Right.
and I think. I mean, I wasn't really around, for the beginning of his career or anything, but I think that's just you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You get me? The fact that he was able to sell 2 scripts just to start financing his own, independent filmmaking. Like his own, start making films independently. Also, I had heard, I forget where I heard this, but like as a screenwriter, like we're big on, like in college, we're taught how format is a big deal. Like if your shit's not formatted the right way,
Yeah.
producers will get it, see that it's not formatted the right. Let's say it's not numbered, it's not correctly numbered. Your script, they will see that and they will use that as an excuse just to throw it away, just not even read it. Like I'm not even gonna bother looking into this. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna waste a minute on this. They're big. Their producers are big on formatting, and I had heard
Yeah.
somewhere that Pulp Fiction wasn't really formatted correctly. Like it was kind of like all over the place. Yet it got produced
Right.
because it's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Do you
You
think
get me?
because at this point he was already established, so if he were to show this script without us having to see, with if Reservoir Dog wasn't even made, and then this is his first script, what you're saying based on what you just described, like that script wouldn't have been thrown out the window right away, but because Tarantino already is established, they were willing to give it a try.
Yeah, that's yes, that's probably the case. But again, I don't know if that's true. I heard it somewhere. I forget
Yeah.
who told me this, but I
Uh,
don't know if
yeah, I
if
believe
it's
you.
true.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I believe you, if anything.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, that was probably the case. Like, oh, this is a kid with Reservoir Dogs. I mean, his shit's not formatted correctly, but fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
think
read through it. Like, I
I think
mean,
the
I'm not
only
gonna.
reason why it wasn't form oh no, I don't think that's the reason. But there was actually Pulp Fiction is actually another unique script because it there was another writer besides Tarantino. So it was just him and the other guy having to form the story or the four stories that are being told in that movie as well. So I'm lacking the information, but I don't know if it was like the other guy that didn't know how to format and just like put the script at that point and just people saw it and they're just like, oh, well, that's unprofessional. But I think at this point, Tarantino knows how to like do things right or whatnot.
Yeah.
But then again, nobody really had to like write the script right or appropriately for Reservoir Dogs because the script got passed around through actors, and I think it was the actors and people around that business that wanted to support that film. So, and it wasn't particularly like big studios. It was only like after this movie was made that the distribution was actually like sent into uh proper manner or whatnot. I don't know. I'm way into this, but yeah. um, but yeah, I do believe you on that part of that say. But I guess because he was already established, I think he kind of had a little bit of leeway in that sense, one way or another. You know.
Maybe. Um. But again, I think it's just his talent. His talent's just undeniable. You get me? Like
Yeah. Yeah. True.
he just knows what he's doing. You know.
Yeah, he's very
He can
conscious
see
about it.
that. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, he's very conscious about it. From what I heard, he does borrow a lot of stuff from different movies, but especially like B-rated movies, in a way that he actually makes it a little bit more better than them. He borrows, but he actually makes his own version, and just that version is like way better in context than the previous like counterpart of it. So it's like, oh, he's getting a lot away with it because he's only like, I don't want to say fix, but he's just making it a better scope of the movies he gets inspired by, really,
Yeah.
in that sense. Oof. But yeah, yeah, this isn't the first time we're gonna talk about Tarantino. So,
Uh,
I mean, we're already talking about if you haven't checked it out, early on we did talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so check that out. Um, this is another episode that we talked about Tarantino, and in a couple years, well, like I said before, probably less than 2 years, we're gonna do a Pulp Fiction, and we'll have more thoughts about like Tarantino overall as an artist, as a director, writer, producer, and by the time that gets to it, maybe his final film would actually, be out by now. So I don't know. We'll maybe make an episode about that that last movie or whatnot. Supposedly that last movie or whatnot. But overall, I think I think I'm pretty good on what I think I have everything what's been said in Reservoir Dogs or not. You know.
Yeah, same here. I was a little worried about it, especially because
Yeah.
uh, I hadn't seen the film in a good while, especially sober. Um, Again, it would have helped if I would have gotten more of a warning, but okay.
Okay, we'll see. All right, we'll see right now. We'll see right now. So,
Fuck it.
I think there's a misunderstanding. But maybe if it wasn't a misunderstanding, someone's going to get in big trouble. Anyways, we're not going to end up
You're
that.
like, this is the last time we're gonna have Erik.
Can't read a fucking memo for his goddamn life. Nah, man, this has been awesome. Either way, if you didn't know, lack of information. But either way, this has been a good episode, man. Yeah, I was gonna do a segment, but really, I don't think I think I'm pretty good. I'm pooped out. I'm a little tired from that. But overall, this has been good. I like this. Erik, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. So,
Finish my,
huh?
finish my beer, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. Cool. What would you rate this beer? Let's just finish it on that.
It got better with time.
Really?
I'm not a big fan of like a chocolatey note on beer. I don't know, I don't know, I feel like it's just
There's a
like
chocolate
for
note
example,
on that?
Guinness. Huh?
There's a chocolate note on that? Wait, what are you drinking? A
Yeah.
brown ale?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like it has like a chocolate note and like a caramel note to it.
Oh, shit.
Um,
That sounds good, man. That actually sounds good. You're kind of appealing that shit.
you might like it. I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan. Like for example, Guinness. I'm not the biggest fan of Guinness. Like everyone loves.
Oh, it's a
Guinness.
stout. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like how that like it has a chocolate note. I'm like,
I like it.
I
Yeah.
like chocolate. I like beer, but both of
Chocolate
them
and a
together-
beer? Ridiculous. No, you're good. Wow, what would you rate this? Remember, quarter systems.
I got a 4.
You're good 4
Wait, it's out of 4 or a 5?
out of 5.
Okay, yeah, 4.
This one's cool. I'll give this one like a 3.75 out of 4. Out of 5, sorry. Quarter systems. But yeah, it's pretty good. A good finish. It's pretty smooth. It's very sippable. I wouldn't like crave this as much. The blonde ale was a little bit better, but then again, like the blonde ale was like less. So I don't know. I finished that one a little bit more faster. This one's like, it's a chill beer. I like it overall. Okay. Any final words on Reservoir Dogs?
I mean, just like every great script that I say, what I have to say about every great script. You know, as a writer, I wish I wrote this.
The
I
envy.
really do.
Yeah.
I think that, like, as a writer personally, like, whenever I have that comment about, like, a play or a screenplay, like, you know, that's just, like, that's the biggest compliment I can give as a writer. You know, I really
Yeah.
wish I wrote this. That
That is
and
a good compliment.
I don't know if I can ever write something as great as this.
Yeah. That's true.
Which, as a writer, is kind of like, oh crap, like kind of like demeaning myself a little bit, like self-demeaning a little bit. But I don't know. There's a certain freedom to it. There's a certain, you know, knowledge that comes to it. Like, okay, and like peace with it. Like, okay, yeah, I may never write something as great as this, but you know,
Yeah.
it's just
You only
it
write
just
what you
tells
know.
how much I appreciate it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I think I'm gonna give it on that same note on writing. you only write what you know, and you obviously get to see who this guy is as an artist. You obviously know he's very passionate, very pop culture, very invested in like things that he likes, and just implement that into his work. And he's one of the most important, if not like one of the most prominent writers and creators in the postmodern era, because he's really bringing a lot that he likes into movies. So it's like a layer upon layer that he's trying to tell. In that sense, like, yeah, he does borrow stuff from time to time to make something of his own, which, I mean, then again, he's not really violating anything. That's how most of films are. Like, if you look at inspirational films, they do copy over each other. Like Goodfellas, Scorsese borrowed from old film, especially at the end, with the guy shooting, with Joe Pesci shooting right at you. That's straight up from like The Great Train Robbery. With Brian De Palma in Untouchables, with that one film. I'm forgetting the name of it, but the whole cradle going down the stairs and stuff. And it's just little tidbits, but also Tarantino having to borrow like movies that do borrow a lot, most of the film's plot, or the premise, and just make it something of his own. But I mean, imitation's, I guess, the best appreciation of something. So I mean, we could learn something from that, because of course it's never gonna stop. It's always a cycle. It's an art form. So I give it cheers to that, And cheers to you, Eric. Thank you for coming and for this one.
Thank you.
Tarantino, bro. 'Cause we always talk about Tarantino, offline, or, off the air. Even before that, we just like always talk about film. So, this is one of the directors that we always like prominently like talk about over and over again. And yeah, hopefully, yeah, well, most likely we're going to talk about this in future episodes. So, here's to that, really.
Just that.
Yeah, all right. All right, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good one. This is Golden Craft Cast. I'm gonna have to put the music, but you can find us. We're at Golden Craft Cast at gmail.com, Golden Craft Cast on IG. Subscribe, support, like. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. We have video support now, so you can look at our beautiful faces whenever you can, and tune in for the next one. All right, guys. Later.
Peace.